I could use one word to describe you, I would use self-sacrificing. I think you always give of yourself, and this is a kind of a defining feature for you. I think that whether it's your time or your energy or your love, that you just give to everyone, and you're just very generous with that. I think if I would sum it up, it's other centered. So it's kind of like what Providence talks about, loving other people and putting them ahead of you. And so I would say that's one word or one way to describe you.
I completely agree. And my word was generous. I feel like you give of your time and your energy and yourself. You just give yourself away very freely, and you're generous to everyone you come in contact with, whether it's people you know or people you're just meeting for the first time. And that's something I really respect about you.
Okay, so one word to describe mom. Mom, I'm going to go with selfless. You are you're probably one of the most selfless people I know. The way that your devotion to our family for the whole time that we were growing up, your service, the way that you sacrificed your own desires, your own needs for us and our family was always and continues to be amazing. It's actually an inspiration to me as I now have my own family, but at times I can only aspire to the levels of selflessness and self-sacrifice that you gave me as an example. So that's something that I think about every day, especially now that I have my own kids and I realize the levels of sacrifice it takes. I'm astounded at the things you did, whether it was teaching us for years and years, hours every day, whether it was taking us to sports or music or band practices or games. Mom, that it was a never-ending chore, and one that you rarely complained at. And frankly, I think the self-sacrifice and the selflessness that you gave us as a family really was the glue that held our family together, um, and really made us work in ways that I don't think would have worked without it. So thank you for that, and happy Mother's Day.
One word that comes to mind when I think about you, Mom Margaret, is generosity. You are so generous. You're always so generous with your love. The way you love me and your family and your grandchildren, my children. You're so generous with your love. You're so generous with your time. You're always working, time and talent. And you're always working to serve other people and listen and talk to people. I feel like I never feel rushed when I have something I want to talk to you about. You give of your time, especially in that way. And you're so generous with your resources, whether it's your wisdom or your service, all the things that God has taught you. You're generous with sharing what you've learned from the Lord, and thank you for that.
Mom, the word I would use to describe you is faithful. You always are faithful to do what's right. It's been evident since since I can remember that you've done the right thing. You've basically obeyed God and obeyed the Bible. And I'm very impressed, especially considering I think, I don't know your mind perfectly, but I think that kind of like, our family may not get direct, insight straight from the Holy Spirit all the time. And yet, and I say that in a good way, as in, I don't believe that, you're just in some sort of direct, being told what to do every day, straight from some spiritual revelation, but rather you have read the Bible, believe what it says, and are faithful to God no matter what. In times where perhaps you are feeling His presence and His Spirit, or times when you're not. And I think that just says so much. I just love and appreciate you for that.
One word that I think of when I think of Margaret, and I think of many different character traits, but one that stands out is industrious, because she stays busy, and she believes in committing herself to good work, and she believes in the pursuit of holiness and righteousness, and in spreading God's kingdom through the work of her hands. And I just see this in how she spends her time and how she prioritizes her life. And and just those daily actionable steps towards God in the way that she lives.
One word I would use to describe you is warm. You always give the biggest smiles and hugs and make everyone feel so welcome.
One word that I would use to describe you is selfless. You're always giving of yourself and your comfort and your time for other people.
Okay, Mom, when we think about spiritual gifts that we see the Lord bringing out in you, I would say that you have a servant's heart. You always give of yourself, but it's from a very pure motive. I feel like you don't expect anything in return and don't expect to be noticed, but you just give very freely. And it's a beautiful thing, and it's a way that we see Jesus in you.
Yes, so I thought service is one way that you love people and care for them a lot. I also thought that you understand people really well. So empathy or understanding or insight into other people, you see their heart really well and their feelings or their emotions, and you're able to respond to that because you see how that affects that person. So whether it's your family or friends or just anyone at work or school that you come in contact with, you have a certain insight into that, and that is a real gift, to be able to see the other person and empathize with them. I think that's one of your spiritual gifts that you're able to use.
One of Mom's spiritual gifts, and yes, one, it is hard to pick one. I'm going to choose steadfastness. It's not usually listed in lists of spiritual gifts. However, the Bible describes God as being steadfast regularly, steadfast in love, steadfast in faithfulness. So I think it's certainly a good thing, even though maybe it doesn't show up on a lot of spiritual gift lists. But Mom, your continued devotion to God, to His Word, to us as a family in steadfast love is something that is truly a gift. And again, truly one that I can only aspire to and hope to emulate. And I do. And so I thank you for that example. I thank you for living a life that is worthy of being called steadfast. In many ways, Mom, you are a rock, one that I could always depend on, and I think our whole family could depend on. So again, thank you for being that example. Thank you for being a rock for us in a way that I believe God is pleased with and honors.
Mom, I would choose the spiritual gift of wisdom for you. I think that God has blessed you with an incredible mind, and you're super smart. And not only are you smart, but you use that intellect to read, study, consider, and then apply what you have learned to making the best decisions possible. And I think it's amazing. I think that you have always just been super capable at almost everything you try. And I think the pursuits of the mind in particular you've been very blessed in that area. And so, yeah, very just so thankful for you and the mind that God gave you, and the fact that you have put it to work throughout your life with just by learning how to be super discerning, super and creative in your thinking, problem solving, and that has led to so many people counting on you for guidance and direction, decision making, and you've been such an influencer to so many because of the great wisdom that the Lord has blessed you with.
The spiritual gift that I think of when I think about Margaret is hospitality. And I would say that so many other people would say the same thing, because she's influenced so many other people through through just openness in conversation, and but really through opening her home and her kitchen to other people in so many ways for so many years, people from every background. And I don't think I've ever heard Margaret say, like, now is not a good time for somebody to come over. It doesn't matter who it is, if she knows the person or not. If it's some person that, one of us came across, it doesn't matter. That person is going to be sitting at the table eating lasagna that night at Margaret's house, and included, and with a place. And I think Margaret values bringing people together, and celebration as well, and just like extending the kingdom to the least of these, and that is demonstrated all the time through hospitality.
Mom, one of the spiritual gifts I see in you is generosity. You are always giving of your time and your energy and your person. I love the way you call your friends when they need someone to listen. You care for those that are sick, bring food to those who need it, and love the lonely. I love the way that you develop relationships with your kids at Lincoln, and you're always making homemade goodies to bring to your friends and neighbors, and just looking out for anyone who might need a hand. And it's really beautiful. I think all of this stems from your love of Christ and the way that He is developing these spiritual gifts in you.
One of the spiritual gifts that I really see in you is your faith. And it's been really important to me for a couple reasons. One is that it has given Cecilia and I a vision of what it looks like and what we want our life to be like, and the kind of people that we want to be. And it's also been wonderful to see you begin to pass that even now to our two kids, to Miriam and James, to see you care for them, and to even now just be pushing them towards our Lord and towards Christ, and towards faith in Him. It's just been really wonderful to see, and I'm really thankful for that.
Okay, Mom, thinking about things that we've learned from you, I think you're a really natural teacher. So I've learned a lot of things from you, whether it's how to bake a cake with homemade frosting, or how to sew using your sewing machine and get that needle threaded. You're always very patient to teach people things. But something that I use a lot that I've learned from you, I remember when Caroline was little, and you would really work with her on things like how to steer her tricycle or how to put her clothes on. And when she was just a little bitty toddler. And I guess being a teacher, I always thought about the cognitive side of what we're trying to teach kids, but you really work on like the physical development of kids and teaching them to do new things. And I think that's really informed what I've done with the other kids. And I enjoyed watching you do that. And I've learned a lot from watching you with your grandkids.
So when I think about what you've taught us or taught me, part of that comes from just example. I think that your leading by example or living your life has taught us a lot. Some of that relates to spiritual things, your discipline to read the Word, to pray for people, to seek the Lord in all things. I think that's you're teaching just by living it and doing it, and kind of like I mentioned earlier with the empathy and understanding others. You're able to teach us that just by you doing it, by you understanding other people, seeing them. So these are all things that I feel you have taught by leading by example. But of course, you did teach directly, and homeschooling and many years of things that you actually taught purposefully. So one of those that came to mind is how to express yourself. And I think all of us, all the siblings have benefited from that. So whether it's writing or speaking, it's interesting. I find that some people really have trouble writing well or speaking well or expressing themselves with language, and you as an English teacher, but also just God's gift that you are able to express yourself really well, and you've taught us that, and it's just been really fun and a real blessing, whether it's at school or work, and I find it even now, it's just a real benefit to be able, and I think all of us would say that, to be able to write or speak clearly to someone and use language well and understand vocabulary and language. And so I think is a direct teaching. So, of course, thank you for teaching us so much and leading by example, which I think is so many different things you've taught us. And I was also going to share that I did mention to the kids, I was like, what do you think Nana has taught you? And they just started rattling off things. She's a gardener. She's a baker. She's, this is Brandon, baker, gardener, sewer. And so all of these things that he just rattled right off. She reads books to us. She, so there are many things that you're teaching the kids and that they recognize that you are good at and that you're teaching them so many different things. But the sewing, the baking, the gardening, and the reading all came up real clearly. And they wanted to share that with you. So.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom. We think you're the best in the world, and we're so thankful to be part of your family.
We love you, Mom.
One of the things you taught me, this one is tough because of course there's so many things that you have taught me. Cambria and I discussed this one briefly. The first thing she said was how to mop, which I think is a good one, that a valuable skill. And in fact, that I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but I have these memories of you literally boohooing, shedding tears when we would spill sticky juice on your newly mopped kitchen floor. So yeah, first of all, let me say sorry for that. But actually, that does get at what I want to say that you taught me is patience. Primarily in this case, patience with a family, patience with kids, patience with spouse, all of that, because it does require a lot of patience, and you modeled that and you taught it to all of us and to me very well. That patience that enables a family to work through things and to live with each other most of the day, every day, and to do it in harmony and do it in a way that allowed all of us to love each other and ultimately to love God as well, because we had such a well-functioning family, and a significant portion of that is due to the patience that you showed and the patience that you taught to us. That's a lesson that I take to our own family here that Cambria and I have, as I try to live that out as well. It's a tough thing, and I am very appreciative of the way that you taught that to me. So Mom, thank you for everything you did and continue to do for us as a family. Happy Mother's Day and Grandmother's Day for that matter. We love you.
Mom, this is a tough one because you've taught me pretty much my whole life. You've taught me how to act and how to think and how to relate to God, and so very difficult to begin thinking about this. Other than in some ways, I can only compare my life and look at my shortcomings and realize that's probably not where Mom taught me. So, Mom, you've taught me in particular just how to, again, going back to faithfulness, how to faithfully do the right thing all the time. And you are so diligent, and you're just so consistent at waking up and doing what needs to be done that day to achieve goals that are worthy, goals that are kingdom oriented, goals that that impact other people in a positive way, demonstrate love. And so that has been a huge influence in my life. When I am feeling lazy or not charitable towards others or selfish, it is a good idea for me to remember you, Mom, and the fact that that's not how you operate. Here's Peter. So that's I would say super thankful for that, for you, Mom, that you were able to demonstrate that. You have always demonstrated that and continue to. And it's that consistency and that day in and day out of faithfulness and doing the right thing that I hope to copy and get better at with time and continue throughout my life. Love you, Mom. Happy Mother's Day from me, and happy Grandmother's Day from Peter. Okay.
Okay, a few things I've learned from Margaret that I think of are how to prioritize what's important and manage a lot of kids and a lot of chaos and kind of let go of the things that don't really matter. I've also learned and been challenged by the pursuit of discipline and like spiritual disciplines, as well as I've seen her walking that out all these years. And I think, as I mentioned earlier, just the gift of hospitality. I've been really, I've gotten to see that in action, and I've been really challenged and encouraged and inspired to be more hospitable in the way that I live day to day. And I've learned what an incredible and what a powerful tool it is in God's kingdom. And like how to use our homes and ourselves and what we have to bring other people in.
Mom, something you have taught me is definitely how to make Italian food, even though I'm not that good at it yet. From way back when, I can remember being in the kitchen in our Claremont house and making suga and meatballs and Italian bread, stuffed manicotti, cannoli, and Italian cookies, and just all these yummy things. And you taught me each step of the way by letting me help and be involved. And these are definitely some of my favorite memories together.
One of the things that I've really learned from you is, well, it kind of goes back to the selfless thing, where I've really seen you give of yourself for Cecilia and I to take care of us and to care for us. I've especially seen it when Miriam and James were born, when you came to Puerto Rico, and you kind of just, you helped us out in every single way, giving of yourself, your time, your everything for us. And it's meant the world to me, and it's taught me a lot about how to love and care for my family. And I just really am thankful for that. I'm thankful to have learned that from you. And I hope that someday I'll be as good at it as you are.